After trading down from pick number 2 to pick number 5, the Cleveland Browns took the guy that many thought would be the 5th overall pick, just not to the Cleveland Browns, to the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham.
He did. That was gross. I think he ate too much. I think the cooking in the kitchen was too good, so a few less wings next time.
I have to make a disclaimer before we get to this video. This is all just rookie minicamp, and we're just bored football fans that love to overanalyze each and everything that happens during rookie minicamp. But sometimes we might be right about this type of stuff. Take, for instance, 2 years ago, when the Philadelphia Eagles traded the 18th pick in the 2022 NFL Draft and a 3rd-round pick to the Tennessee Titans to get A.J. Brown. A move that quite literally changed Mike Vrabel's career forever. I mean, you can literally see the frustration on his face when this all goes down. The Titans then used that 18th overall pick in the NFL Draft to select Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks, ironically, was compared to A.J. Brown. Now, some of you guys might be wondering, why would the Tennessee Titans do this? Well, they weren't sure if A.J. Brown was worth the money. After all, they thought that A.J. Brown might just be a product of their future Hall of Fame quarterback Ryan Tannehill's stellar play. They didn't think it was A.J. Brown making Ryan Tannehill look good. They thought it was Ryan Tannehill making A.J. Brown look good. Well, shortly after that, the Philadelphia Eagles would extend A.J. Brown and give him the money he wanted. He would eventually win a Super Bowl with them. Meanwhile, just less than a month later, when Treylon Burks went to rookie minicamp, he was incredibly out of shape, vomited, and quit during his first day of practice. And at the time, I made a video on it, and believe me, the comment section of that video are brutal. But in hindsight, it aged pretty well. In the 2022 season, Treylon Burks' rookie year, he had 444 receiving yards for 1 touchdown in 11 games. In his sophomore year, he played in 11 games once again, but this time he had 221 receiving yards. This past year, he only played in 5 games and he only had 4 receptions, and now his future isn't really looking so great. At least his head coach Brian Callahan mentioned it 1 year ago.
Anytime you're not the full-time starter, you're going to have to contribute somewhere on game day, and I think Trey's attitude and approach to special teams has been fantastic, and so I'm excited to see what he could do for him. I think he's an asset on special teams.
So all I'm saying is just keep that in mind as we jump into this video on what's going on in the Cleveland Browns rookie minicamp right now. The Cleveland Browns may have done it again. For decades, the Cleveland Browns have been the laughingstock of the NFL, but after a horrific 3-14 record last year, the Browns front office made it an effort to put those jokes to rest. And it looked like that finally happened after they traded down in the NFL Draft to not only bolster up picks, but to select Michigan defensive tackle Mason Graham. However, it just took 2.5 weeks for Cleveland Browns to really start to become concerned with Mason Graham, primarily due to concerns over his conditioning at rookie minicamp. Look, let me set the stage for the Mason Graham draft pick. If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you definitely have some PTSD over the way your team has been drafting over the past couple of years. I mean, don't get me wrong, you have selections like Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, but at the same time, when you had the number 2 pick in the NFL Draft and you had the opportunity to potentially take an exciting and game-changing prospect like Travis Hunter and you traded down to the number 5 pick so you could load up on draft picks and take Mason Graham, on paper it seemed like a brilliant decision, but at the same time, it was still quite a polarizing decision. On one hand, Cleveland Browns fans said that this was the second coming of the Julio Jones trade. So for those of you guys that don't know, during the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons had the 27th pick, and they moved up to number 6 with the Cleveland Browns. In order to do this, they gave up their 1st round pick that year with their 2nd and 4th round pick in 2011. Then they gave up their 1st and 4th round pick in 2012 as well. And with those picks, the Browns selected Phil Taylor, a fullback, and Brandon Weeden. Then they packaged some of those picks to move up for Trent Richardson, and it doesn't take a genius to figure out who won that trade. Now, I'm not saying Mason Graham is the second coming of that, but I feel like the context is very important for fans to understand here. And after years and years of draft mediocrity, with the exception of the selections of Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, of course, it seemed like the Cleveland Browns had finally taken another game changer, but now some fans are a little worried. Apparently at some point during Cleveland's rookie minicamp, after a rep, Mason Graham would end up throwing up, which you don't see very often, and Kevin Stefanski trying to laugh off the situation doesn't really help things out.
He did. That was gross. I think he ate too much. I think the cooking in the kitchen was too good, so a few less wings next time.
Well, look, Browns fans, I really don't think it's even close to an acceptable time for fans to go crazy just yet. During the entire draft process, Mason Graham was mocked to be a top 5 pick, and that was despite a lackluster NFL combine. At the combine, Mason Graham weighed in 14 pounds lighter than he was supposed to be, measured in with below average arm length, only participated in the bench press and finished second to last at the event, and on top of it all, he didn't have much media presence, and despite all of that, he still went top 5 to the Cleveland Browns. And Cleveland was even confident enough in him to trade away a genuinely generational prospect in Travis Hunter. So I understand the immediate reaction to this would be, Mike, the Cleveland Browns are just dumb. But you have to understand, when you have months and months to evaluate a prospect, you just don't give up the rights to drafting him that easily. There's a reason Mason Graham got drafted so high, and there's a reason that Cleveland passed on the opportunity to pair Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders together in order to make him a Brown. Fans just don't see it yet.
He is an incredible athlete. For 296 pounds, quick, powerful, right? Can bend, can rush the passer, can do all the athletic stuff you would want out of a defensive tackle. He's very versatile along the front. And teams that like that kind of guy, a chaos creator, not the, I'm just going to hold it down here and take on a double team, they're going to love Mason Graham.
This draft class is deep in so many ways, but where it really shines, in not only my opinion, but the experts' opinions as well, is at the defensive tackle position. Guys like Walter Nolan, Derek Harmon, and even Graham's teammate Kenneth Grant were first-round picks and project to have massive impacts at the next level. But you can't talk about the defensive tackles in this class without talking about Mason Graham. The guy's an absolute freak of nature, and I had him as the 3rd best player in this class, above guys like Ashton Jainty and Jalen Walker, simply because of the fact that I think he's the best defensive tackle we've ever seen enter the draft since Aaron Donald all the way back in 2014. He's 6'3" and projects to be around 320 pounds at training camp. He has the strength of a mule, but a man that has his size and strength should not be able to move the way that he does. And that's what makes him so good. And let me show you some examples. This rep against the #1 team in the country at the time, Oregon, sticks out to me a ton. Michigan is going to come out in a 2-down lineman set with 2 edge rushers way off the line on each side of Graham and Grant. Realistically, this shouldn't work against the formation that Oregon is in. Oregon came out with 11 personnel, with both the tight end and running back on a check and release, meaning that they can only break out and run their route if there isn't anyone to block. That's a potential 7 blockers against a measly 4 people rushing the quarterback. That doesn't matter to Mason Graham though. Once the ball is snapped, he doesn't even bother trying to bend his way around the opposing guard and attack the B gap. Instead, he starts running at him at full speed and proceeds to make a move right towards the guard once the two meet. This move is a step inside, meeting the guard chest to chest, but with the position that Graham was in, the guard needed to prioritize placing his weight on his left side to ensure Mason Graham couldn't just swim right by him, because that would have set Graham's future teammate Dillon Gabriel up for some real punishment. And Mason Graham knows that, and he uses that weight shift against him, using his superhuman strength and speed to just throw him to the side he's leaning towards and burst right by him, forcing Gabriel to roll out and make a decision with the football. Now, if you compare that to this rep from earlier in the same game, you'll see yet another reason why that move was as effective as it was. Michigan is going to line up in the same formation that they did in the first play, but with Mason Graham in a standing position this time, as opposed to him having his hand in the dirt. This gives Graham an extra boost in his step, and he takes the same route to the guard as he did in the first clip. The difference here, though, is the fact that Graham does not use that absurdly disgusting swim move this time, putting the guard on his knees and making him look insanely silly. Gabriel is then forced to make a quick throw with this freak of nature running at his face, and to his credit, he does. But if that receiver wasn't open, Dillon Gabriel would have to either try to force a throw, risk a costly turnover, or he would have been forced to take the meanest sack of his collegiate career. He's been an absolute monster against the run as well, which may be even more valuable than his pass rush ability. Plays like those two are just the surface of why I think he'll be an all-pro level guy someday, but for some reason, a little bit of vomit and a quiet offseason have fans thinking he's going to suck. And I get it, because we've been making a lot of content on Shedeur Sanders and not that much about the Browns' first-round pick.
I get it. The Browns need help on the interior of their defensive line. They have to give help to Myles Garrett. But I'm not sure Mason Graham is going to be a star defensive tackle.
I mean, part of me gets it. If I was to put myself in a Browns fan's shoes, you're used to nothing but failure, and when you've spent an entire offseason looking forward to one of the greatest talents we've ever seen becoming a Brown, just for your front office to throw away the opportunity, you have the right to be upset regardless of who's taken. However, just because you don't have Travis Hunter doesn't mean that Mason Graham is going to be bad. Since Myles Garrett was drafted in 2017, the help that Cleveland has put around him on the defensive line has been absolutely pitiful. Myles Garrett has 102.5 sacks in his career. Since he was drafted, no other Brown has more than 15, with only 4 players recording over 10. Do you realize how insane that is? The fact that Browns general manager Andrew Berry went out and got someone who can actually help take some of the pressure off of the man that you just made the highest paid edge rusher in NFL history is a massive win, and one sign of bad conditioning in May, by the way, doesn't change that one bit. Now again, the last time we did see this with a first round pick, it genuinely was a problem. Back in 2022, the Tennessee Titans would shock the football world when they would trade star wide receiver AJ Brown to the Philadelphia Eagles in exchange for a first round pick in that year's draft. That pick would end up becoming Arkansas wide receiver Treylon Burks. And once we hit rookie minicamp, the same thing that's happening with Graham right now, although not the exact same, was happening to Burks. It was reported that Burks couldn't even make it through the first set of wide receiver drills at minicamp without hunching over, needing to see a trainer, and even needing an inhaler. Now, Graham's situation is different. He admittedly has looked out of shape and literally did puke on the field, but he has yet to be in a situation where he needs an inhaler. The major difference between the two situations, however, is the fact that Mason Graham is 100% a blue chip prospect, while Treylon Burks was a reach in the late first round. Treylon Burks may have been a bust, but it wasn't because of his conditioning, it was because he's just not as good as his draft position said.
Is Treylon Burks finished? When players don't break out in their first or second year, we don't often see them ever break out, and Treylon Burks is really kind of in that situation.
When it comes to overreacting, NFL fans do it best. And this is a prime example. Yes, he isn't well conditioned right now. And yes, there are clips surfacing of him having a bad minicamp, but there are also clips of Mason Graham absolutely dominating in this same minicamp. The media has completely skewed this situation, and fans aren't completely buying into it. Whether it's because he's not Travis Hunter or he's out of shape, or whether it's literally the fact that he was a Michigan Wolverine and Browns fans are more likely to be Ohio State fans, you can't make the call on a rookie that genuinely might have been the safest pick in the class at pick number 5 bad just because he threw up at rookie minicamp in May. Every single year, fans overreact about either a draft pick, a trade, or a free agent signing, whether it's good overreactions or bad overreactions, and more times than not, those fans are proven wrong. Except me, of course. I was 100% right when I overreacted about Treylon Burks a couple years ago, and I'm gonna stand by that right here. Jokes aside, he's a freak athlete and he's going to provide so much help to Myles Garrett on an otherwise terrible Cleveland Browns defensive line. I'm not looking too much into this conditioning situation, but if he doesn't get that together by training camp, which I wholeheartedly believe he will, then fans can start to get concerned. Now, something else that you might be concerned about is this crazy quarterback battle between Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel of the Cleveland Browns. I know we've been making a lot of Cleveland Browns videos this offseason, but this QB battle is one that I have my eye on. So I'm going to leave a link to that in the end screen and meet you guys there. We also have our brand new baseball project on baseball's government spy that we uploaded to Uni Diamond Talk. I'm going to leave both of these in the end screen and meet you guys there. I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.